The narrator in this one's a little bit off the rails.
We have notes.
We have notes for the narrator.
Like the copy's a little rude.
You know what's great?
What?
Jillian Benzavale.
Patrick Hines.
Ba-da-da. Two different keys every time.
Yeah, that's okay.
Good for us.
You know what? Who cares?
Hey, fam. Hey, girl.
Hey, girl.
Fam, look, 'tis the season to join the page.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Look, over on the Patreon, there's over 400 full ad-free bonus episodes. You get one every single week.
Yeah.
We do that all year long. We almost never take a week off from the page.
Right. And all these episodes that we're giving you now, because we're in like our bonus era, and those are all ad-free too.
Oh, I wanted to say, so we're doing that. We do the after party tier. It's the $7 tier. We used to do like Q&As or doing your advice. We started doing this new thing where we're telling each other cases that we haven't done yet on the pod.
Right.
So people always ask me, like, what is the case that keeps me up at night? Mine is the case of Sneha Phillip, who was the doctor who went missing on September 10th, 2001.
Yes. In New York City.
She lived across the street from the World Trade Center. Like, did she vanish because she ran into the World Trade Center? Did she use 9/11 as a ruse to, like, escape to a new life?
Yeah.
I never got to, like, cover the case with you because there isn't a doc about it. So for my after party in the month of November, I'm telling you that case.
Yeah, and I'm teaching you all about Betty Gore and Candy Montgomery. Well, you knew nothing about it.
I
You
knew
were
nothing
shocked.
about that
That was
case.
a journey for you.
It was a real journey. So this is like a new fun thing we're doing. We research it ourselves. We cite all of our sources. It's like a really fun, different way of doing things.
Yeah, why not?
So patreon.com/truecrimeobsessed if you want to get in on the action. I've never said it like that before.
Yeah, action. What an exhausting word.
Listen, my mouth doesn't have room for all the syllables.
That's
okay?
all right.
All right. Girl, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about, it's called Catching the Craigslist Killer. It's on Hulu.
1 murder and 3 robberies in 7 days. And the main suspect was the last person you'd ever consider.
Nobody recognized this young man as a potential killer. Who would have thought? Nobody thought. And that's why it's fascinating.
Police said it was all done by a medical student named Philip Markoff.
There are really 2 Philip Markoffs. The image he presented to the world was that of a successful medical student about to get married.
I mean, he had everything that you would think he would want.
How does a seemingly bright young medical student turn from that into the monster that became known as the Craigslist Killer will be a mystery, I think, to all of us.
Now, for the first time on television, the men who tracked down the Craigslist Killer tell the whole story. One of his victims opens up about her experience. And former friends and experts in criminal behavior try to answer the question, who was the real Philip Markoff?
So I gotta tell you, this takes place in Boston, and I remember when this happened because it takes place in Copley Square. The first part of it takes place in Copley Square.
Yeah, I was like, we're not in Boston the whole time.
No, not the whole time, but it's like a 5-minute walk from the Wilbur, and it's like right around the corner from where I went to college.
Oh
so
my
like
God.
I know this area. The Westin, where the first case happens, we used to go there for drinks when I was in college
Oh
all
my
the time.
God.
I know.
All right, well, let's go back to April 9th, 2009, and Trisha Leffler is here, and she tells us this like truly harrowing experience.
She's a 29-year-old Vegas call girl. Like that's what she does for a living, and like loud and proud.
Yeah. I'm going to go with sex worker.
Okay, well, I'm just saying this is the issue with the narrator.
They say a lot of things here.
They say call girl, they say stripper for another one of the women that we meet,
Yeah.
which is like, I just want to say the right thing. That's all.
Right, well, hold on to the stripper thing. I think strippers are loud and proud, but like that's like the only thing they call her. Whatever, we'll get to it in a minute.
It's very reductive.
Yes,
is that
exactly.
the right word, reductive?
Or like dehumanized. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
But they call her a call girl. She's a sex worker, but like she loves her work. She loves her job.
Yeah, she's from Vegas,
Yep.
but she's at the Westin Hotel in Boston's Back Bay. And so this is how she gets work. She goes on Craigslist.
Was very common.
This came out like pretty recently, but they think that the internet is new.
I know.
Because they're like, they went to an internet website
I
called
know.
Craigslist.
I know.
And later they really go
I
because
know.
because the narrator is like, that Trisha, she had high-tech savvy and champagne tastes. And I'm like, Craigslist is maybe the most basic web. Like, Trisha, make your money. Like, I
Sure.
love what you're doing. But
Yeah.
Craigslist isn't like this high-tech.
No, if this feels like it came out in 2008. This came out
Like-
recently.
Yeah. Well,
Oh my God.
Yeah, whatever. So Trisha puts her ads on Craigslist.
My ad said something like, "Sweet blonde, come spend some time with me. No disappointments."
To facilitate her career in the world's oldest profession, Trisha had become proficient in an exceedingly 21st century form of advertising. She posted ads on the internet service Craigslist.
She posts ads on the internet service Craigslist. It feels like it was written by AI.
Are you kidding?
This was definitely written by AI.
Seriously.
You know what
Seriously.
I mean? The internet service Craigslist.
Right. And this whole champagne taste and caviar dreams, that whole thing. I guess her clients have a lot of money is what they're trying to say or whatever. But there are, of course, still risks to doing something like this. So Trisha walks us through her process.
One more thing the narrator says, though she lived in Vegas, thanks to Craigslist, she could ply her erotic wares anywhere in the world. How did you find this series?
It's on Hulu.
Ply her erotic wares.
I found it on the internet website, hulu.com, a subsidiary of the internet.
And with her with her high-tech savvy and champagne taste.
But they also don't go into I think she's just from Vegas.
Yes.
And maybe she's in Boston for some reason. But just to get a client to go all the way to Boston
No. I think that sex workers travel to various cities to get work, right?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Great.
We meet this woman, Maria Kramer, who she's the co-author of the book 7 Days of Rage, which I think is the book about this case. Mm-hmm. And she's the one who's saying so even though the internet and posting on Craigslist gives the sex worker, I think, some sense of security, there's still risks. And the big risk being, of course, you can't control what happens when you get into the room. And Trisha herself describes it as the luck of the draw. And she says, I just got the bad end of it.
I know. It's really sad.
It really is very, very dangerous work.
Yeah. And Trisha's, we get the sense, and she hasn't told us otherwise, that she's doing this on her own, right?
Yes.
So here's Trisha's process. They exchange phone numbers, or she gets theirs. They talk on the phone.
Yeah.
They get to know each other a little bit, as much as you possibly can in a 15-minute phone call.
She says,
Asked him what he did for a living. He said he was a student. He sounded nice over the phone. I said, okay, well, how long are you looking to spend with me? And he said, probably the hour.
An hour would cost $200, but the man said that was okay. So thinking everything was fine, she told him where she was staying.
30 minutes later, this guy gets to the hotel. And another thing she does is that Trisha tells her clients what floor she's on, but not the room number. So this gives her, she's being discreet a little, let's not meet in the lobby.
Yes.
But at the same time, it gives her a chance to see if she feels comfortable enough to go through with this. So she meets them right at the elevator.
it's like a vibe check, which again is scary. It scares me for her,
Right. And the thing is, I am I'm all about the vibe and what your gut tells you. But at the same time, people manipulate the vibe all the time.
I was just going to say, the people who are doing things like this are typically the people who know how to fake the vibe.
They're experts at lying about the vibe.
Exactly.
It happens all the time.
Yep. She sees him. She describes him as a good-looking and blonde, no obvious red flags. She feels comfortable enough to bring him to the room.
Right. So they walk back to her room, and the second the door clicks closed, everything changed.
Can I just say one more thing? This is a very nice hotel, and there's got to be some sense of I'm in a hotel room where probably there are people on other side of me. This can't get so crazy that somebody can't kick the door down in 2 seconds.
Sure.
Except he turns around and he's got a gun.
Right.
My heart started beating really fast. He just told me to lie down on the floor and put my hands behind my back. And he took out some plastic ties, and he kneeled down and basically put one knee in between my legs and proceeded to tie me up.
At this point, Trisha was scared to death. But to her, the man appeared eerily at ease.
Trisha is here.
Yeah.
So she's telling us the story, and she's like, I have to tell you, this guy was totally calm. It didn't feel to her that this was his first time doing this.
And that is what has got to also be so terrifying,
That he's not meeting her energy at all.
He's not nervous. This is not his first time. She says he goes through her wallet, takes her cash, her credit cards, her ID. And then he takes her phone and he's trying to erase the number that he called from. And Trisha, trying to just get him on her side, offers to do it for him.
Right. But the thing is, he declined that.
Yeah.
And this guy had gloves on, but he had to take his gloves. Everyone,
yes.
in my favorite months of the year, it's very annoying to text outside when you're wearing gloves. You got to take the gloves on.
We got to figure that out, Apple. You'd think that by now we'd be at a place where you can text through gloves.
And they definitely have those gloves. You can buy them where it's easy to text with. No, you're lying.
Also, those gloves where you pull the fingers back makes no sense to me.
I love my fingerless gloves. They're arm warmers, but it's not the same.
No.
My fingers are still absolutely freezing.
Why do we live where it's cold? It's warm somewhere all the time.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know.
You know what I mean?
To each their own, I guess.
I just don't want to be, it's also dark at 4:30 now. What is, okay.
It's heaven.
All right.
I suffered through
I know, that's true.
all of the rest of the year for this.
I've known you for so long that all summer, whenever it's beautiful outside, I feel sorry for you.
appreciate a beautiful spring day.
Yes.
But now, because the earth is on fire, it's few and far between. I would love a nice spring season.
Steve looked at one of our Facebook memories from today, like 8 years ago. Today's date is November 9th.
Yeah.
Steve goes, like, on this day 9 years ago, it was a blizzard. He's like, can you imagine? It's still basically summer here.
Yeah. Again, back to the gloves, right?
Enjoy the apocalypse, everybody. Happy apocalypse.
It's on fire and it's freezing. It's horrible all around. So he takes her phone. Yeah, he's trying to delete the number that he called from, but he has to take his gloves off to do that because he doesn't want her to do it for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But this means he touched her phone. Put a pin in that.
Stay fucking stupid.
You know?
Stay stupid. But then,
After he erased his number from my cell phone, cut the phone cords in the room with the knife. It was huge. It was like a butcher knife.
cuts the fucking phone cord to the wall phone in the room with a knife.
Like a butcher knife.
Like a big knife. I'm like, I don't understand. The second you leave, she's going to be screaming bloody murder. What does it matter if the phone works or not?
Or calmly walking next door, knocking on the door. No matter what she's doing, like, you idiot.
She's in a hotel. Like she's done the best she can for her safety.
Right.
You know?
So he's going through all of Trisha's things. He's touching all her clothes. He's stealing her underwear.
Like,
fucking
oh my
disgusting.
God.
And after 10 minutes, all he's doing is like rifling through her things. And Trisha is just standing there tied up with zip ties, scared out of her mind.
Wondering if this is it, if this is the last minute of her life, and how brutally and painfully is she about to die.
What's he gonna do when he's done going through her luggage, right? So after 10 minutes of rifling through her stuff, he tells Trisha to go into the bathroom, and he takes out another cord from his pocket, and he ties it around the bathroom doorknob, and then ties Trisha to the doorknob, right?
Yeah.
And he takes his gloves off again.
Yep.
Idiot, to put duct tape over Trisha's mouth.
And like Trisha in real time is clocking the fingerprints. She's got like those CSI eyes. She can see the fingerprints.
Like her, totally. And you see like all the green,
eyes.
Green numbers everywhere for whatever reason.
Dripping down the screen.
So she's like, okay, so my phone, the doorknob.
But then he like goes back out into the room, goes through her luggage again to get another pair of underwear.
I know, because she hears like the zipper on the suitcase because he left her tied in the bathroom.
And then he like checks on her again and then like leaves the room for good.
So he robs her, scares her, and leaves. And Trisha, this is when Trisha's like, I could get out of those zip ties very quickly. Like, she's just a little flick of the wrist and she's out.
This guy's a moron. She calmly walks to the neighbor's room to use the phone to call security.
I think when he left, I think he felt good about how he left me and that I wasn't going to do anything. I thought maybe that I would get in trouble for the business that I was in Boston doing. But at the same time, at that point, I really didn't care. I just wanted him to get caught.
When he left, he felt like he like secured her nice and tight, like she's gonna be there until like housekeeping comes in or whatever.
And that she also wouldn't report this because she's a sex worker.
Right.
But so now I'm kind of going back on what we said before, that it was like he was so calm. This is his first time doing this. But this is the beginning. I mean, it's called the Craigslist Killer.
Right.
So he is working up to doing even more horrible things.
As far as we know, this is his, because like this all happens in a week. So this kind of is his first go at this.
So he's that is also very telling on how evil this guy is. That this was like kind of nothing to him.
Yeah. And like Trisha, I want to just go back to the point of him thinking that she's not going to call and report it because she's a sex worker. Trisha has absolutely no shame about being a sex worker.
Right. Why should she?
She's a little bit concerned that she might get in trouble because it's illegal, but she's like, fuck that. I want to get this guy caught.
Yeah, I would think that, I mean, God, how many documentaries did we do in New York in the 70s where the sex workers said nothing because like they were supposed to be invisible?
Yeah.
But she doesn't give a shit. So, and also someone chimes in here to give the cops a medal for actually believing Trisha, even though she's a sex worker. And I'm like, they don't get flowers for taking her seriously. That's their job. Shut up.
This woman has just been fucking traumatized.
Right?
They say there are clues at the scene because this idiot had gotten sloppy. The fingerprints on the zip ties and the duct tape. But they say it only helps if the suspect is in one of their police systems, and this guy isn't.
Right. However, he is all over the hotel cameras.
Okay.
He's all over.
We also learned that like when we see the hotel security videos, he was wearing a baseball hat. So this to me was so creepy, and they don't really mention it because when Trisha sees him getting off the elevator, he's not wearing a baseball hat. Mm-hmm. So he knows he's got to wear the baseball hat in the lobby to like obscure his face. Where did he put the baseball hat? Like he knows he's got to take it off because a baseball hat would be creepy to her. Mm-hmm. It's so
his
I don't know
pocket, probably?
Why that freaked me out. It's just so calculated.
Because it's calculated because he knew what he was doing. And then someone saying like
he was someone that knew he wasn't in the system, that his fingerprints were not going to be something that could be traced back to him.
He certainly didn't look like a monster. He didn't act like an armed robber, or at least the stereotype that we use when we think of armed robbers. I think as a result, he wasn't that concerned about being identified on a surveillance camera.
He knows he doesn't look the part. And I'm like, excuse me, yes, he does. And are we done with the he didn't look like a monster thing?
I know.
Have we learned anything? Like, that's such a tired take.
But, like, I think even the cops are a little bit annoyed at the idea that, like, because he's a tall, blonde, white guy,
mediocre white dude,
he thinks that he's safe because nobody would think that he would be the bad guy.
Right.
They're always the bad guy.
They're always the bad guy.
It's always them.
Give me a break. Have we learned nothing?
I know. Days and days are going by, and like Trisha is stuck in Boston because she's waiting to get her phone back because it's evidence. So she's still in Boston. I'm assuming like what she does for a living, her phone is vital. Like that's probably where a lot of her client, like she has to stay in Boston and wait and get that back.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
So now it's 3 days later, and we learn that another woman in the very same part of town at the Copley Marriott has also been attacked. So these hotels are like across the street from each other.
Yeah.
They're connected by a sky bridge. They actually show the actual proper sky bridge. I was like, oh, wow. This woman's name is Jalissa Brisman.
She was a model.
At the same time, Jalissa was also training to be a drug and alcohol counselor. She'd overcome her own addictions in 2007.
She was turning her life around.
But the way Jalissa made spending money was by offering what she called erotic massages.
Great.
That's what brought her to Boston.
She made a lot of her money offering what she called erotic massages.
Yes.
And they say that that's why she was in Boston. She had a lot of regulars.
Mm-hmm.
And just like Trisha, she found her new clients on the internet website Craigslist.
I just was saying, like, once again, it's just so dangerous.
Yeah.
Like, no matter how good your screening process is, you just, like, never know who you're gonna fucking get.
Right. And, like, so many people are doing this. I mean, sex work is work, and sometimes this is, like, your passion, and this is what you want to do, and that's great. Yeah. But it sounds like with Jalissa, like, she was modeling, and she was training to be a counselor, so she was doing this as, like, some great money on the side
They
for her.
literally say, like, for shopping money. Like,
right.
that's what they describe it as, like, that's what she was trying to make.
So Jalissa has a pretty similar protocol that Trisha does, only she has several phone calls as her safety precaution, right?
Yeah. And so the killer makes an appointment with her at 10 p.m. It's Tuesday, April 14th. She lets him into the room. He immediately pulls the gun.
Just like Trisha.
Yep. And tries to tie her hands with the zip ties. But with Trisha's, the way that she decided to survive the attack was to just submit and do what he said. Jalissa fights back. They say this panics him. It's not what he's expecting, especially if this is just his second time doing this.
Right.
Like the first time to him was so easy.
Right.
This time she fights back. This is not how he expects the victim to respond. We learn that like a guest down the hall hears a high-pitched scream.
Because they are fighting. Like
Yeah.
Jalissa's fighting for her life. They are actually fighting. And she is screaming, smartly screaming, so
Yeah.
that this very next thing happens. The person next door calls security.
Security goes to the room and finds Jalissa unconscious in the door.
The man had beaten Jalissa with his gun and shot her.
She had crushing blows to her head. Also, 3 gunshot wounds, 2 to the chest, I believe, and 1 to the abdomen. But any one of those gunshot wounds would have killed her. And they were inflicted at virtually point-blank range.
Jalissa had been beaten and she was shot 3 times at point blank range. So like this guy panicked and killed her.
They say that any one of the 3 shots would have killed her instantly.
Yeah.
It was overkill because he was so scared he like didn't know what to do. I'm also like, did nobody hear 3 fucking gunshots in a small hotel room?
Probably. I mean, I'm sure that's just like it happened so fast and then he was just out the door.
Yeah.
And he ran away in a panic. So now like the city's scared. The cops want to find this guy. And to my shock, they immediately linked the 2 cases. I was worried this was going to be some bullshit where the cops are like, well, I don't know. Who cares about sex workers? No.
I know. It might have to do with how close in proximity the hotels are to each other.
Probably.
It's probably the same cops from the same squad or
Still,
whatever.
I'll take a win when I can get it.
I know.
You know what I mean?
You're right. This is a good day.
Especially since we had to deal with them getting their flowers for taking a sex worker seriously to begin with. So I'm,
Yeah, 100%.
So the cops released the photos from the hotel cameras because they do have this guy on some imagery, right? On some whatever. So he was super casual. Like he's texting on his phone as he's walking, just like any idiot who's not watching where they're going. Like he's not really aware of his surroundings.
I know. And they called Trisha down.
They gave me another photo and I said, this is a really good picture of him. Where did you get it? This is, from the lobby. And they said, no, that's from another hotel. There was a girl killed at the Marriott last night and we think this guy had something to do with it.
This is like a couple nights later, he went to see someone else and he killed her. And I was like, please tell me that that's not how you told Trisha.
Yeah, honestly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, please.
The bedside manner with these people.
I know.
But Trisha says, like, that's when she made up her mind that she had done the right thing in calling the cops because, like, now this guy is on the loose and he's a killer.
Right. And he's hunting women.
Yes.
So Jalissa set up her appointments through a friend That's all we know, just a friend. And so this friend immediately offers their help to the cops, and they give the cops the email that was used to book your time with Jalissa.
Yeah, which is very smart because, like, without this friend, we never would have gotten that connection. Like, through Craigslist, I guess you have to send an email, and that's how they connected it.
Or you can say, like, just another option is that I think you could, like, put an ad and, like, here's my phone number, call me, whatever, to keep yourself anonymous or whatever. But she was an email girly through and through.
And they say, right, and maybe she insisted on an email because it would create a paper trail. And when they investigate this email that he used, they say that he had set up a new email account to send this email from. And they're like, this fucking idiot thought this was going to protect him. But this is where we learn about IP addresses, which they go over this 1,000 times. What is it? Internet what?
The Internet Protocol address.
The Internet Protocol. And they refer to it because this was written by AI.
Right.
I'm convinced it was written by AI.
Yeah.
This is the last time they ever say IP. They refer to it as Internet Protocol address for the rest of the episode.
It's the IP. It's like when you think you're posting online anonymously, the IP address connects you to your house.
Exactly.
You know? So it's like you switch out of your real email and then you go to your fake email. That's all connected by the IP address. So the internet knows all.
They had to subpoena the records of the internet provider Comcast to find out where the emails had been sent from. But the information would take days to come through, and it wouldn't come in time.
They call Comcast. They're waiting on it. It takes days and days and days. And while they're waiting for this information, another woman is using Craigslist in Rhode Island.
Because I just got to say, like, it shouldn't take days and days and days. We have an active killer on the fucking loose. Trisha was 2 nights ago. Jalissa was yesterday. Like, this guy is on a rampage.
Yes.
We need to be able to expedite the process.
Right. And now Rhode Island is 50 miles away from the other attacks.
Yeah. This is Warwick. I can't say it. This is Warwick, Rhode Island. Try saying that fast.
Warwick. Am I slowing down? Warwick.
You're a witch.
But this woman would give private dances in her hotel room, right? Now, this narration gets so shitty here. I can't believe this was even allowed because the narrator says, even though there were headlines about the Craigslist killer, she decided to take the risk. Big mistake.
I know.
Number 1, excuse me. Number 2, how dare you? Number 3, she's 50 miles away.
I know.
Number 4, you don't know her or her circumstances.
You're mad at you picked this.
Like, what a shitty, rude, irresponsible thing to say on Hulu.
The other thing is the AI machine that wrote this episode, like, refers to this woman as the stripper.
The stripper.
Because she never comes forward. She never publicly identifies herself.
Fine. Just say our survivor.
Or just like the woman.
The woman.
The AI narrator calls her the stripper for the rest of the episode.
They insist on calling her the stripper.
Yes.
I'm like, oh, she took the risk. Big mistake. Fuck you.
You picked this episode. You're mad.
I just like, it's so irresponsible.
It's been a minute since a good old fashioned.
It's just so rude.
I know. I couldn't
find
agree
it
more.
rude.
I was like texting you dialogue from the AI narrator all day.
I know. But the thing that I didn't really catch on to until you told me is that they're just saying Internet Protocol thing, not IP address.
When the results came back and they got the Internet Protocol address, I'm like, wow, who wrote this?
From the internet providing website, Craigslist or whatever they said. Like, what?
The technical service.
Like
the Craigslist.
The Craigslist.org. So the killer uses Trisha's credit card to buy a baseball cap like a fucking idiot.
So wait a second.
Stupid.
This scared me to death.
But like, you might as well use your own. Yeah, whatever.
Well, so what's we got to back up a little bit.
Let's back up.
What we learn is the killer, it's the evening of April 16th.
The stripper received a phone call from a young man seeking her services. The client, who had been playing poker at Foxwoods Casino, drove to Warwick. He stopped at a Walmart there, and police later found out he used one of Trisha Leffler's credit cards to buy a baseball cap.
He stops at a Walmart and uses Trisha. She's the woman that lived, the first victim from the West End.
50 miles away.
In Boston.
Right.
My point is, in using her credit card, he knows he's going to get caught.
Yes.
That is what is so scary to me, is that he's not even trying to hide.
I think he's trying to do this as many times as he can before he gets caught.
Because the whole thing is, like, you're using the credit card to buy a hat to hide your face from the security video, but you're using a very, very fucking trackable credit card in a store that has security cameras where you're not wearing the hat.
And you're also emailing.
I know.
Like, he's a young guy. We learned that he was going to medical school or whatever. Like you have to know that, like, using an email to do anything is traceable.
He's not not unintelligent, which is why this scared me, because it's like he's just on a rampage. He just wants to abuse as many of these women as he possibly can, knowing he's going to get caught. He's got nothing to lose.
Right. So the cops are looking for him 50 miles away. This killer shows up to the woman's room. She's the one who's offering private dances in her hotel room.
She's staying at a Holiday Inn Express.
Right.
And we see him arrive on surveillance video wearing the hat. He takes off the hat before getting to the room, which again is so creepy to me because he knows the hat's going to freak her out.
Yeah.
And it's just so calculated.
And he's probably also using the hat thinking that you can't really see his face on the cameras.
This is where the AI narrator says he seemed harmless enough, so the stripper let him into the room.
I can't.
I know.
Rude.
I know.
Rude.
The stripper let him into the room.
So the same thing happens, right? The door closes. He pulls out the gun. She screams. He's like, I'm not going to hurt you. I just want to rob you.
But she also, she talks to the cops later, instantly knows it's the Craigslist killer.
Right.
She knows what's going on. How terrifying must that be?
But now here's something the killer wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
This woman was traveling with her husband.
Yes.
He's downstairs in the lobby waiting for her, and they have a whole little system. So when she didn't contact him, he knows the guy's coming up.
Yep.
He's waiting for his wife to say, it's all good, I feel safe, or whatever their situation is. We don't get the details of that. But when she doesn't contact him, he does what they agreed on.
Yep.
He's coming right up to the room. So of course he has a key to the fucking room.
Oh my God.
He lets himself in and walks in on this terrifying scene of his wife being attacked.
Yes.
He was confronted by this individual who was pointing a gun at him. He observed his wife on the floor, bound, behind him. He immediately stepped out of the room. He said at that point, the suspect followed him into the hall. When he heard the door shut, the husband turned around and ran down the hallway.
The husband backs out of the room like Homer into the bushes.
Yes. Nice gift reference, Gramps. That was a good one. Remember when you were like, what's The Simpsons? I've never watched that show.
I don't understand.
And now you're referencing Homer going into the bushes?
Like Homer into the bushes.
You know, that I call that growth.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Old dog, new tricks. But they say that the husband runs one way, the killer runs the other. And I don't know why that made me laugh. The killer's not trying to get the husband to not report him. He's just trying to get out.
Right. So as this is happening, everyone's running every which way. The woman in the room calls security.
Yeah.
And she says it's the same thing as Boston. It's the same thing as Boston.
Can you imagine? I think about this all the time with serial killers or whatever.
Yeah.
Like the Boston Strangler. There were women that he killed that knew that they had just let the Boston Strangler into their house.
Right.
The second he pulls off the stocking or whatever, oh shit.
Right.
This is the Boston Strangler.
And once again, color me surprised, the cops actually connect the cases and they believe her.
Yes.
Shock. I'm not kidding. That was surprising too. I thought this was going to be another it was 50 miles away.
And you were giving lap dances at a Holiday Inn Express.
Yeah, and what of it?
I know. And I gotta say,
who wouldn't like a lap dance every once in a while? Am I crazy?
I've never had one. I would take one right now.
Are you kidding?
Get over here, Pennsylvania.
Come on. I, of course, would have.
Sweet Charity. You're an old gay man.
You know what? If it ain't broke.
I know, that's true.
You know what I'm saying?
But they are connecting the crimes. They're saying all right, this probably is the same guy from Boston. The protocol is the same.
Yeah.
He answered it out on Craigslist. He pulled a gun, used zip ties. The surveillance images are similar.
And finally, the internet information comes back.
The internet protocol address is returned.
Right. They find out who this motherfucker is, and they go to his apartment. His name is Philip Markoff, and that's the last time I'm saying his name.
I just have in bright blue letters. They just keep saying internet protocol.
I know. Someone just learned what that is.
It's the AI narrator.
It has to be.
You know?
God, has it come to this?
Oh my God. I mean, how far away from this are we actually?
I don't know.
In a year, it's going to be AI, you and me.
I don't know. We just made a deal on the strike, so that's great.
Oh, that's true.
So who knows? I don't know.
Congratulations, everybody.
We're riding on the internet, cyberspace, set free. Hello, virtual reality.
So now they've got a name, but they're like, okay, we've got a name. Are we sure that this Philip Markoff is the same guy who sent the email? How stupid is this guy? Maybe he's smart enough that he doesn't actually live in this apartment building. He's just coming here and stealing Wi-Fi from the car.
No. They set up shop outside this idiot's apartment. They wait for him to show up. And then some cops lo and behold, out he comes out the front door.
But the thing is, they say we're sitting in the parking lot looking for a 6-foot-tall blonde white guy. And I'm like, that is exactly what every single man in Boston looks like.
What is he wearing? A Lacoste shirt?
I know.
The cute little alligator on it?
Patriots sweatshirt or something. You know what I mean? They say he comes out of the building and goes over to a car in the parking lot of this apartment building to work on the car.
Okay.
You're just going to work on a car in the middle of a parking lot. But then they don't arrest him. They're like, okay, seems like he's the guy. Now we need to go and like make sure this is the guy.
Yeah, or this was just like creative editing for us to go back and learn about this asshole,
I know.
right?
I can't believe they do this. Like, it's a lot of information about the killer.
So here's what we learned.
We knew that he was a student at Boston University Medical School.
Markov was a 23-year-old training to be a physician, learning to save lives at the very same hospital where Julissa Brisman was pronounced dead.
He was training to save lives at the very hospital where Julissa Brisman was pronounced dead.
I know.
Can you fucking imagine?
It's so sick.
When you see pictures of this guy, he looks like he's 17. Like, he looks like a little... I mean, he's very tall.
Yeah.
They'll say 7,000.
They say, like, great.
They're like, they describe him as like an orangutan. Like, they describe him as like being tall and awkward and gangly.
And what they aren't mentioning is that I'm sure that he felt overpowering when you open the door and you see a 6'5" guy there. But like, then say that.
Yeah, yes.
Don't just have 6 people and be like, and the height on that guy. Can you believe it? The only person I want to hear how tall he is Ed Ates. That was the only conversation. Because
the Web of Death episode. Oh my
yeah.
God. But somebody says what was really scary about this killer was that like he wasn't motivated by money, it seems. Like he was just motivated by something darker. It's that need to kill.
Right.
The thing
like,
is,
like being an evil monster?
I was just going to say, I don't think he was out to kill. I think he was out to rob and terrorize. Like, it seems like
and like overpower women and take advantage of people and be a horrible evil monster.
Like, I think Julissa died because she rightfully was fighting for her life. You know what I mean?
I got to tell you, I'm not budging on the evil monster
No,
thing.
I'm not trying to humanize this guy. No, not please. Don't misunderstand me. This guy is a monster. He was like, he didn't care if he killed, is what I'm saying.
Sure.
I just don't think he was out with the intent. At least we're only 4 days into this thing. Who knows how this would have escalated?
100%.
You know?
So more about how like, you didn't look like a killer. Shut up. Open your minds. You look and sound so stupid. You look and sound like an idiot.
I know.
At this point.
You're looking right at me when you say that.
You're the only person
right at me. But we go back to his small town of Sherrill, New York. One of his teachers is here to tell us.
He was such a good student. All the teachers liked him, even teachers that didn't have him in their classes.
He was an excellent student, an honor student. He was very cooperative, very friendly, polite, gentlemanly.
Friendly, polite, everyone loved him, blah, 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 blah.
I know.
Until he gets to college.
Yeah.
He goes to SUNY Albany, pre-med. He was always studying. He did very, very well, more poker playing. And then he starts assaulting women.
Yeah,
So
we
fuck you.
meet his friend Morgan Houston, who's here, like, went to college with him, was, like, friends with this guy. She describes a night that, like, one night they were out together with a group of friends and he's walking her home and, like, walking down the path to her dorm or whatever, all of a sudden he's, like, groping her.
Yeah, he pushes her against a wall. He's, like, he's groping her. He's trying to kiss her. She's pushing him off. She's saying no. She's turning her head away.
She describes him as forceful, which just, like, took my breath away.
Yeah, so forceful that another friend had to actually physically pull him off
Like,
of Morgan.
What the fuck?
Just, like, disgusting.
And Morgan doesn't report this, which, whatever, she does her journey, but she doesn't report it. They stay friends. But it's just like he assaulted her.
Yeah, look, I cannot tell you how many times something like this has happened to me or other women. Like, this situation is, like, something that happened to me, like, to a T.
Yeah.
And I didn't report anything, and then it just sort of became... This is a very, 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 very common thing with women, especially in college.
Like,
it happens all the time.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
That is,
I mean,
so fucking terrible.
I haven't been to college in a while, but my experience was like, oh, right, yeah, haha, sorry, just to get out of it alive.
Yeah.
You know?
And they stay friends. They're sitting next to each other at graduation.
Look, and, like, I get it. I understand.
No,
you know?
I understand, too. I mean, I'm not shaming Morgan in any way. I'm empathizing with Morgan.
Yeah.
Because, like, she probably has nightmares about it, and it's probably
100%.
never far from her mind.
And I'm sure there's a moment thinking, now everyone watching Hulu is going to know that we sat next to each other. And, like, you know what, Morgan, good for you for not fucking explaining yourself.
It's weird. I've heard this story before, this very thing. So I must have read an article about this guy back in the day and heard that story. Because when she told, I was like, oh, yeah, I totally know this story.
Yeah, yeah. And it's the same thing as, like, Trisha. Like, thanks for telling your story, everybody.
Yeah, 100%.
So the killer graduates early. He's off to Boston University School of Medicine.
He does pre-med in 3 years. Like, that's pretty intense, right?
Is it?
I thought it was a 4-year thing that he did in 3 years.
Okay. Yeah, they do say he graduates early, so good for him or whatever. Actually, no, fuck this guy. He starts dating Megan McAllister.
Yes.
She's really, like, introverted and quiet. I don't think she had, like, a mean bone in her body. She was just, like, a really sweet girl.
Megan was another pre-med who grew up in Little Silver, New Jersey. She and Philip met when they both volunteered at a hospital in Albany.
Also pre-med. She grew up in New Jersey. Very, very sweet. She moves to Boston with him, and that's where they get engaged. And they're planning their 2009 wedding at a seaside restaurant in New Jersey.
Yeah, Megan makes a website for the wedding. She seems very happy and excited.
She's really excited.
I know.
She is thinking this guy's the love of her life. She just can't wait to be married. She's like actually having fun with the planning. She's so psyched.
She just they say that like she hadn't dated a lot before, so like to her he was like dreamy, this like 6'5" pre-med blonde doctor, blah 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 blah. You know what I mean?
Great. And it's like, Megan, don't sell yourself short. You're also going to be a doctor.
And she was very like Megan seems like a catch.
So the cops are tailing the killer, and they see him with Megan, and they're like, okay, so he's with a woman, but like they both look really happy. Megan doesn't have a care in the world, is happy as a clam. She can't wait.
Yeah.
So they're trying to get more evidence on this guy. So they have him under 24-hour surveillance so that if he also tries anything again, they'll be able to stop him in the act.
I was very glad to hear that.
Me too.
Because I was like, get this fucking guy off the street. Like, he's the guy, get him off the street.
Yeah, instead of just like doing the work at your desk, I'm glad that we're tailing him 24 hours a day.
We're like 5 days into this thing and 2 women have been terrorized and 1 is dead. Arrest. What more evidence do you fucking need?
Right. So then one day the killer packs a bag and heads to Rhode Island with Megan, the fiance. They're like taking a little road trip.
And I'm glad that the police are tailing him because they're saying that like we couldn't let him get out of the state because once he crosses state lines, we can't arrest him anymore.
And now they're like driving towards the state line and they have to make a decision if they're going to stop him before he leaves Massachusetts.
Yeah, which they decide to do,
Yeah.
which is great. But then like this really crazy thing happens where they pull him over.
Albert pulled the couple over and said he was seizing the car. Markov didn't seem surprised.
He had nothing to say, didn't want to know why the car was being taken, and he was acting very unusual considering the circumstances.
They say he's not surprised at all. He doesn't ask any questions. He's not curious about why they're there.
And he's not saying a word. He says, lawyer, that's it. That's my word.
And I was like, did you just leave them on the side of the road? No. They put him in the police cruiser and they take him downtown. He won't talk. Megan has a million questions.
Megan has too many questions to wait for a lawyer. She's talking.
Can you imagine? Like, you don't know, all of a sudden you're being arrested with your husband. They're taking the car. And like, he clearly knows something, but he's not talking even to you.
And so she sits down with the cops and she's like, hey, what's going on? And they're like, hey, just to confirm, that's your boyfriend, right? And she's like, yeah. She's IDing the killer in the hotel photos.
Right.
So she's corroborating what Trisha, a survivor, has said, right?
Yes. The AI narrator goes, it was a damning identification.
Okay, great. And like, good. I'm glad it was.
Yeah. So she does this like damning identification. They say more news comes in from New York City where detectives have caught up with Trisha. Like Trisha's now moved on to New York.
Yes.
And they say they've given her a pile of 7 photos. One of them is the killer. She identifies him right away.
In a heartbeat.
Yeah.
So what this means is that and I don't know what they said to Megan. It seems like or if she didn't ask for a lawyer, like, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem like they were like, your boyfriend in the other room, your fiance, we're going to get him for murder. So can you please? They were probably just like, hey.
I mean.
They probably lied to her. It was just like, something was missing or we're trying to get to the bottom of something and you can really help us.
Yes.
And like, for lack of a better word, or for the exact word, like tricked Megan into just giving up all of this information.
And she's like, Megan, I just can't imagine the learning like in real time. Because like, she's not an idiot. She probably reads the paper. She knows about the Craigslist killer.
Yeah.
To be learning that like, oh my God, that's my soon to be fucking husband.
Yeah. Megan makes some decisions in a minute.
Yes.
But the cops, one decision comes first. On April 20th, 2009.
Police arrested Philip Markov for the murder of Julissa Brisman and the robbery of Trisha Leffler.
This was Cheryl, New York, and I knew this boy. I just couldn't believe it. There's got to be some mistake.
People who knew him were stunned when Philip Markov was arrested as the Craigslist killer.
People who knew him were stunned. If you look at his background, there were no red flags at all.
I want to talk to Morgan, who was like, I could have called it.
Yeah, 100. Morgan's the only one not to. Morgan and the fucking guy that pulled him off of her.
Not like it brings you any pleasure to be like, well,
yeah,
that makes sense.
No.
Like it sucks all around, but I wonder what Morgan was doing that day when she found out that this is what that guy ended up doing with his life.
I'm sorry, but like dig a little deeper, teacher and friends from Cheryl, New York, who are here to talk. Like, I'm sorry, but like this guy didn't just turn into a monster overnight at fucking Foxwoods Casino.
But look, they're really good at it. Like, I'm sure he leaned into the fact that he was tall and was good at school. Like he just sort of leaned into that. They all do.
God damn it.
I know. People who are good at manipulating are like absolutely terrifying.
Well, they say the person who was the most surprised of them all was fiance Megan. She sent an email to a bunch of news outlets, like an angry email.
She's like fiercely defending him now because he is arrested.
Yep.
And like, thanks to her.
Right.
I mean, thanks to many other things, but she ID'd him. That ID copy to match Trisha's was huge.
Yeah.
So she starts calling news outlets saying, like, he's really nice to me. Like, I don't think he'd ever do this. And I'm not making fun of Meghan. I'm just saying, like, her world is turned upside down.
Meghan, go home and go through his computer, girl. You know what I mean?
I know.
Find the gun that we learned he's stashing in your apartment in a carved out copy of Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah,
like he's like a fucking mob boss.
I know. We'll get back to Meghan.
Yeah.
In the moment, she panicked and I guess was like, I have a lot of non-refundable deposits on cakes and honeymoons.
They show us the seaside restaurant. It looks expensive.
It's really nice.
Yeah.
So, and people are wondering, like, how didn't Meghan know this? And it's like, well, don't we see this all the time?
I know.
Like, the people who are closest to him, he manipulated the most. So, of course, he was going to be on his best behavior in front of Meghan.
Well, and also, this all happened in only a week.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And I wonder where she thought he was.
Well, she knew that he was at Foxwoods gambling that one night.
So what about Rhode Island?
That was the Foxwoods night.
Oh, okay.
And then, when he was in Boston, maybe she thought he was working.
And we don't know what time. It wasn't like 2 a.m.
No,
it could have just been like...
And he was only in the room with Trisha for like an hour.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not even a full hour. But also, I just want to say, like, in that 1 week that Meghan quote, like, how could she not have known? He sent one email to Jalissa and made 2 phone calls.
Right.
One to the quote stripper and the other one to Trisha.
Yeah.
So, like, there wasn't a lot that Meghan, the fiance, missed.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And he was, again, on his best behavior in front of her.
Yeah.
So this is a very easy case. Here's all the evidence. We're going to go back to all the stuff you just listed.
Yeah.
His fingerprints match the ones found at both crime scenes.
They found a 9mm handgun, just like the one used in that crime.
The shell casings that were left behind at the Marriott Hotel were linked ballistically to that weapon and one of the bullets that was taken out of her body.
Markoff had kept the gun in a hollowed-out copy of Grey's Anatomy, a medical textbook.
They found the murder weapon in his apartment, and he kept it in a hollowed-out copy of Grey's Anatomy, which is it's like a classic and very famous medical book, also the name of a television show.
So I didn't know that it was a medical book. I had no idea. I thought it was just Meredith Grey. That was her last name.
Did you watch Grey's Anatomy?
Not a single episode.
I didn't either.
No.
Okay, so I felt really, where I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense when I Googled.
No, me either.
It was like my ears went up, and I was like, that's got to be, okay, got it.
But I want to like, fam, if you don't know what a hollowed out means, it means like it's a hardcover book that he like cut all the pages out of. So when it's closed, it looks like it's just a closed, but like.
So it's a very thick textbook is perfect for
It's
that.
like the thing from the movies that like the mafia guys do.
Sure.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
This guy fucking did that.
Now, Grey's Anatomy.
Just like hide it under the bed or something,
Meghan
dummy.
will find it.
I guess. They found it anyway.
But also,
Stupid.
Meghan is also pre-med or studying to be a doctor, so she would have to look something up in Grey's Anatomy also.
Can you imagine?
Idiot.
You're like, I need to figure out what that rash is.
Oh, that's a joke. Like,
right.
well, you can't get out of that one, killer.
No.
But also, the book is Grey with an A, and the show is Grey with an E.
Oh, that. Well,
in case anyone cares.
Okay, great.
Something I found when I learned that Grey's Anatomy was a book today.
I had no idea.
No
How
idea.
old is the book? Do we know?
It's a classic and very famous medical book. It probably came out, and I'm sure it's been updated.
I was going to say, like, I
yearly.
would hope that if it came out, let's say before, I don't know, 8 minutes ago.
Yeah, no.
It's been.
It's more than just like the measles.
Right. It's
smallpox.
Only simple
dysentery. It's more than things you could catch on the Oregon Trail.
Right. It's
Oregon.
like every
Oregon
disease
Trail.
Christopher Columbus brought with him. You know what I mean?
Yes, when he colonized.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm going to say it every time. Sorry. Hate me if you want. There's also more evidence in his apartment.
We found similar electrical ties, which were duct taped to the rear of a clothes dryer. We found ammunition that was duct taped to the rear of a clothes dryer.
And remember the underwear that the robber took from Trisha Leffler's suitcase?
They found those 2 pair of underwear, balled up in a pair of his socks, and then stuffed in the box spring of his mattress.
And Trisha's underwear.
Oh, God.
You fucking creep. Rolled up in his
know.
socks and stuffed in the box spring of the mattress. Like, he had trophies everywhere. All of his, like, this guy was at the beginning of
Yes.
a very, for him, like, what he wanted to be, like, a long career of just, like,
But,
terrorizing women.
He was going to get caught within the week anyway. Like, just using Trisha's credit card at a Walmart full of video cameras. What are you doing?
Yeah. So in 2009, he's charged with murder, robbery, kidnapping.
He pleads not guilty, which makes me crazy.
And it makes Meghan, the fiance, crazy because she dumps his ass.
Yeah,
She's out.
She goes to the prison to break up with him. We
Fuck
see
yeah.
her leaving the prison having
Yeah.
broken up with this jerk guy.
Bye. You know that famous photo of Nicole Kidman like celebrating when
Yes.
her divorce from Tom Cruise is finalized.
Yes.
That's how I see Megan's vibe.
Oh my
Just
God.
like, yes. Oh, we also have more evidence on his computer.
Well, or do we?
Or do we?
They're saying, like, they find like he likes a bunch of kinky websites on the internet. Like, I don't know that that's evidence
He's on
that
like
a killer.
alternative sites or whatever. Like, who knows? So like the evidence, the lawyers are like, do we really have to show it? This is very easy because like he so clearly planned the crimes.
Yeah.
He tried to get away with it. He has the trophies, the fingerprints, the identification. Like, this is a slam dunk case.
And also, we're back with Trisha, who's planning to like confront him at trial.
Yes.
She's moved home to be with her family. She's in training to be a pharmacy tech.
Yes.
This experience really messed her up, but also like really made her like realize she wanted to make some changes in her life.
Right. And so this guy is looking at life without parole.
Yeah.
Like, and all the lawyers are like, there's no question he would have been convicted. And I'm like, would have been.
I know.
Is there a
They're
twist
referring to him in the
coming?
past tense. I know.
And what happens is
He had a homemade scalpel that he fashioned from a razor and a ballpoint pen. I mean, he had thought all of this out.
Philip Markoff committed suicide on August 15th, 2010. It would have been right around his first wedding anniversary.
August 15th, 2010, he turns like a toothbrush into a shiv and kills himself.
And kills himself. And, you know, everyone is speculating wildly about why he did this. And I'm like, shut up. I think it's pretty clear.
Was he driven to kill because he'd become a pathological thrill seeker?
Like,
what?
I think he just hates women.
Yes.
And he's aggressive and he thinks that he can take whatever he wants without any consequences. That's why we're here. Did I solve it?
But it's also just like we're getting all these theories about like, was it sexually motivated? Like
Yes.
the act of fan. I'm like, we're a little late in the episode to be getting. I literally was like, we have 39 seconds left in the episode, and we're now trying
the credits are rolling. Hulu wants me to click yes on the next episode of whatever it wants me to watch next.
I know.
We're
it's
done.
called AI Narrator Investigates.
Like,
Yeah.
justice for all these women and fuck this guy.
Okay, bye.
The end. Bye.
Oh my God, girl, we did it. What's it called?
It's called Catching the Craigslist Killer. And unfortunately, like you said, you were like, wait, which one? The sad part about this is that there are many of these assholes out in the world.
I feel like this series should just be called AI Narrator Investigates.
Oh my God.
Do you know what I mean?
Internet protocol address. We get it.
the domain website, Craigslist.com.
Like, what?
Fam, come join us over on the Patreon. Over 400 full ad-free bonus apps to download and binge the second you join. We are adding a new one every week. We do it every week of the year, just about.
Yep.
Tell them some of the cases we've covered over there on Ye Old Lady Pates.
Ye Old Lady Pates. Both seasons of Wild Crime and Love Fraud and The Staircase.
Serial season 1.
Yeah, The Murders at Starved Rock. Remember that one?
Oh my God. Well, we just finished up Never Let Him Go about the murder of Philip Johnson in Australia that took 30 years to solve.
Yeah, Captive Audience about Stephen Stainer.
Oh my goodness. Remember like Don't F with Cats and The Lion King. It's not that.
Unfortunately.
It's
Which The Lion King was also
Circle of Life.
just as traumatizing as Tiger King, honestly.
Totally. Patreon.com/True Crime Obsessed, or go to the website, click on the Patreon link.
There you go.
What are we doing next?
We are doing, it's an episode of 48 Hours.
Ooh.
It's called, are you ready?
Yeah.
The Case of the Poison Cheesecake.
Again, not about the Golden Girls?
It's not about the Golden Girls.
The Case of the Poison Cheesecake.
And it's exactly what it sounds like.
Okay, great.
So there's no nuance to this title.
Yeah.
It is exactly what it sounds like.
All right, fam. Well, stay tuned for the trailer for that. And we love you.
We love you. Enjoy.
All right, bye.
Bye.
She doesn't do the in-your-face type of homicidal maniac kind of thing. She's not a shooter. She's not a stabber. But I haven't seen somebody this ruthless in a long time. I've seen a lot of murders. I've seen people killed with knives and machetes and guns, with vehicles, strangulation, suffocation. I have never seen anyone try to kill another person with a piece of cheesecake.
Until now.
Until now. I'm a private investigator here in New York City. I was hired to hunt down and assist in the apprehension of Victoria Nasirova.
As a perpetrator, she's 1 in a million.
I believe that Victoria felt the walls were closing in on her. Victoria Nasirova had to be taken off of these streets.
I'm not a killer. I'm woman. Only woman.
I think anybody that trusts Victoria has something to fear.
Stay tuned for more episodes of AI Narrator Investigates, only at the domain website https://www.ainarratorinvestigates.net. We look forward to seeing your internet protocol address on the information superhighway. Goodbye, internet user.